Hello and welcome to the EPR training video. We are the EPR Data Quality Training Team, and within this video I will be showing you how to correctly check out a patient from PowerChart, and it will also go through the referral to treatment pathways and how to ensure that you are selecting the correct RTT code. This training video is aimed at anybody who runs their own clinics and are responsible for ensuring that the patient is checked out. Beginning with PowerChart, you will be viewing the ambulatory organiser screen, and you should have already marked your patient as seen by one of the applicable options. At this point, you'd be going to the checkout status. When you do go to the checkout status, you will be required to enter a date and time. This will be pre-populated, so if you are a little bit delayed in getting the checkout completed, you may be required to backdate or back time this, making sure that it is correct. In terms of the outcome, this will be in the offer tab, and within the offer tab you will have two yellow mandatory fields. If they are yellow fields, that does mean that they are mandatory, so they must be completed before you can proceed. For the outcome, you will only have three options available. Another appointment given should only be used if you have already booked and are aware that this patient has already got an appointment scheduled. If they've simply been added to a waiting list, then you would be selecting another appointment to be made at a later date. Alternatively, if the patient has been discharged, then you would select discharge from consultant's care. In terms of the RTT status, when you drop this down, you will only ever see the applicable options for what stage the patient is at within their RTT journey. So although it looks like I do have quite a lot of RTT codes available, this isn't the full list of codes. Now you'll always be able to see where the patient is in their journey via the current RTT status, which will always show you the last RTT status code that was entered. In this case, I can see that it was 10, first activity. Now, in terms of how RTT codes work with each other, any code that begins with the number 1 will always be the start of a referral to treatment pathway. So this is what starts the 18-week clock ticking. Any code that begins with the number 2 means it's a continuation of the referral to treatment pathway, so we need to keep this clock ticking. So this would be used if we needed to do some tests, for example, added the patient to an inpatient waiting list, needed to do a follow-up appointment. Anytime you've seen the patient, but you've not been able to provide them with treatment, you would use a 2 code to continue the clock. Any code that begins with the number 3 will stop the 18-week referral to treatment pathway. Now this could be that the patient has received their treatment, but it could be also a declining of the treatment. It could be that the patient declined the treatment or the clinician declined the treatment. It could be that we're not able to provide the treatment at this particular stage. There's many reasons which we're going to go into, but after the clock has been stopped, then we would be in the non-applicable stage. So these non-applicable codes always begin with 9. In this case, it would be post-treatment that they're no longer applicable to referral to treatment, but patients may be non-applicable to RTT from the beginning of their journey, and I will be going through a few scenarios of this as well today. But this is just a generic overview of the different categories of the RTT codes. Now, in terms of the full list of RTT codes, these are viewable via the RTT status guide, in which you can see a list of all of the RTT codes here, following the same principle of 1, 2, 3 and 9. You can see here that we have the number 1 codes 10, 11 and 12, the 2 codes 20 and 21, the 3 codes 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35 and 36, and then we also have our 9 codes, our non-applicable codes, which is 90, 91, and then we also have 98 and 99. Now, as you can see from each of these codes, each code does provide its own explanation as to when these codes should be used. But what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to apply all of these different codes into example pathways so that you can actually see how they all work alongside each other. Beginning with the standard patient pathway, so this would begin when we've received a referral from the GP practice. This is just one example. We may have received the referral from a different service. Any patient that is referred into a consultant-led service, we will need to start their clock ticking. So we would use one of the 1 codes. In this case, it would be a 10. When a patient does get seen for their appointment, any time that we have not been able to provide them treatment, we need to keep the clock ticking. In this case, the patient needs some further tests doing, so we use a 20 to continue that clock. In this example, when the patient did return for their follow-up appointment to discuss the results of the test, medication was provided, and this was their first definitive treatment. So we've used code 30, and this has stopped the 18-week pathway ticking. So anything between the 10 and the 30 has to have happened within 18 weeks. Following this, the patient receives a follow-up appointment to check that the medication is working. Anytime the patient is still continued to be seen post-treatment, it would be a 90. So in the example of the patient with arthritis, for example, they would continuously be a 90 unless there was some change within the treatment, which I'll go into later. An alternative example to this is a similar pathway, but we're missing 20 here. So this could be used in instances such as dermatology, where the patient receives their first definitive treatment at their first outpatient appointment. So it was a skin condition, for example, and we simply gave the patient some creams and some medication. Again, we would still continue to see the patient to make sure that the medication is working, but it would also be post-treatment. So this is a 90. If the patient declines treatment, in this instance, we did some tests on the patient, and during the follow-up, when the patient was offered some treatment, the patient declined. Because the patient declined, we need to stop the RTT pathway ticking, and we would discharge the patient back to the GP's care. So this would be code 35. We also have examples such as intra-provider transfer forms. Now, these IPTs do have a variety of different journeys that could be applied here. I am just using one of many examples, but in this patient's example, we received the referral. We did some tests on the patient. During the follow-up, it was decided that a different hospital needed to continue this treatment and they would provide this treatment. So on our end, we would enter code 21. Notice it begins with 2, so this means that this is a continuation of the patient's RTT, but notice how it's in red. The reason it's in red is because it would be the receiving provider that would pick up this RTT. So if we referred at week 10 in the patient's RTT, the receiving provider would pick this pathway up at 10 weeks. But on our system, we would ensure that we are not monitoring that patient anymore. So it is still, in theory, a continuation of the RTT pathway. Alternatively, we could use 21, but we are simply asking the provider for an opinion on the patient. So we are not actually referring the treatment care to that provider, we're just asking for an opinion. So in this case, one hospital has to maintain responsibility of that patient's treatment pathway. One of us has the RTT clock ticking. Because we've not referred the patient for treatment, we are keeping the responsibility for that treatment. So we need to ensure that when we enter the code 21, the clock will still continue ticking. Similar example to if the patient declines treatment, the clinician could also decline treatment. So we would use code 34 in this instance. Again, it will stop the monitoring and we would discharge the patient back to the GP's care. In this example, the patient did not attend their first outpatient appointment. So notice we do have the 10 in here when we started the RTT clock, but then we have one of those 3 codes. We've stopped the monitoring. And this was because the patient didn't attend. This will stop the 18-week clock, and in one instance, the patient may just be discharged back to the GP's care. In this example, we've given the patient a second opportunity. Because we did stop the 18-week clock, we do need to make sure that we restart this again. But for this example, it purposely restarts it back at 0, so that 1, the patient doesn't breach, and 2, we don't get fined as a trust for something that was beyond our control. The rest of this journey will just continue as normal, with the patient being sent for some tests, receiving the treatment, and then being seen post-treatment. We've got a longer example here. This is known as a watchful wait period or an active monitoring period. Now, if you look outside of the section that I've bracketed around, we still have the 10, 20, 30, 90, so it's still a standard pathway, but we have the codes 32, 91 and 11, which are new. Now, there's different scenarios of when a watchful wait period might be applied. It could be a consultant's decision, it could be a patient's decision. In this example, we've got code 32, so it was the patient that attended a follow-up appointment to discuss the results of a test, and the consultant decided to apply the patient to a watchful wait period. If it was the patient's decision, we would be using code 31. So either code 31 or 32 will apply watchful wait. Now, just a few examples of when this might be necessary is if the patient needed to lose weight in order to receive treatment, or if the patient needed to stop smoking in order to receive treatment. So it will stop the 18-week pathway from ticking. If we do continue to see that patient during this watchful wait period, we would use a non-applicable code because the 18-week pathway is currently stopped, and this would be 91. So there could be multiple 91s as many times as that patient is seen during this watchful wait period. As soon as it's decided that we can proceed with the treatment, we would use code 11, and that will restart the RTT monitoring. The rest of the journey would continue as normal. In this example, I have put a 20 in there, but that might not always be the case. They might go straight to treatment. So this is just one example of many. And that is the final RTT pathway. So just returning back to the list of RTT codes. So I have applied the majority of these codes into example journeys. One of the main ones that I've missed is 99. So the reason code 99 is not being included in this is because 99 should never be used. Now, if a code 99 is used at any stage, it actually breaks the RTT rules within the EPR system. So this means that we have no way of actually monitoring the patient correctly in terms of where they are in their journey, which could have severe consequences on the patient and in terms of their monitoring if they are waiting for treatment, for example. The other code I have not included in the example journeys is code 12, which, as you can see, this is a consultant referral for a new condition. So the majority of our referrals within the trust are usually internal regarding the same condition. So if it's regarding the same condition, then that would actually be a 20 and the clock would continue ticking. So a 12 would only be regarding a completely new condition altogether. So returning to the patient that I'm checking out, dropping down the RTT statuses, you can see here that we do have a variety of different codes, and I am going to say that this is a brand new patient, and I'm going to say that they've been sent for some tests. I'm going to use one of the 20 codes to keep the clock ticking. The only reason you will see a variety of different 20 codes is just to explain the different options of when you would go down that route. So they've been sent for a procedure, they've been sent for some diagnostic tests, we've internally referred them regarding the same condition for an opinion only. In my case, I'm going to say 20 clock continues. Outcome of attendance is the appointment to be made at a later date. As soon as you press OK, if you do get this pop up, This is just to warn you to say that although you're saying an appointment is to be made at a later date, the system recognises you've not actually placed an order for a follow-up appointment. So this may risk the patient being lost to follow-up. So it is recommended you click no to that, cancel, and just quickly go back into your patient's record and order that follow-up appointment. I am training, so I am going to bypass that warning and press yes. Thank you for watching today's training. If you do have any comments or questions, feel free to contact us on systems.training@bthft.nhs.uk. Thank you.